9,000 people in the UK have now lost their lives to coronavirus in the past 5 weeks. The latest daily death toll has risen by a record 980 people. That's higher than Spain and Italy's worst daily death tolls. And that number does not include people who have died from coronavirus in care homes or in the community. It brings the total number of deaths in hospital to 8,958 at the end of another week of tragic news for thousands of families across the country. Today has been the third day in a row in which the government has announced close to 1,000 deaths in a single day. Meanwhile, despite fresh claims from frontline staff about a lack of personal protection equipment, the Health Secretary today insisted there is now enough for medical workers as long as it's used correctly. Here's our health editor, Hugh Pym.
He warned about the lack of protective equipment for NHS staff. Soon after that, Dr Abdul Mabud Chowdhury contracted coronavirus. He died on Wednesday. The warning came in a social media message to the Prime Minister, saying health workers had to protect themselves and their families. His son spoke to the BBC today.
He was a courageous, brave man, and that is something that he's passed on to us. He saw that NHS workers didn't have enough PPE, and he made a call for that. He wrote a letter for that, and well, maybe at the time it didn't get the attention it deserved, but now, for sure, we are giving it the attention it deserves, and we are not going to stop. We are getting this everywhere. We are making sure we're heard, that my father's voice is heard, and that my father's passing is not in vain.
Problems getting hold of the right masks, gowns and visors have been reported for several weeks. The government said there were enough supplies and distribution would be improved. But still, some feel anxious they can't obtain appropriate personal protective equipment known as PPE.
We're getting a lot of messages from doctors on the front line that the current situation is in many parts of the country inadequate. The people are feeling unprotected, that they feel scared when they're at work. They feel unable in some places to use the kit that they're able to bring in from home because other members of the team haven't got it. And that they don't feel confident in what's being provided.
Staff at one trust say they've had conflicting messages, with guidelines on whether to use an apron or gown changing twice in 2 hours. A doctor told us, "I feel betrayed by those who are meant to be our leaders. It's like we're being sent to war without armour to protect ourselves, serving as cannon fodder." In a statement, the Newcastle-upon-Tyne Hospitals Trust said requirements from Public Health England had changed numerous times over recent weeks, that current advice was fully in line with those, and staff could be assured there were sufficient supplies of protective equipment. Today, the government announced a new plan to boost PPE supplies, including a plea to businesses to produce more.
If you've got production facilities and you can meet our published technical specifications, we want to hear from you so that we can make this kit here in Britain that'll keep people safe.
There will be a lot of scepticism, won't there, still, about another plan being published. What guarantees can you give that people will be made to feel safe with the right equipment?
What I'd say is that it is a constant effort to get the PPE to the front line, a huge logistical effort. We acknowledge the challenges, of course we do, we face them every day, and we are doing everything in our power to get that PPE to the front line.
And there was a sobering assessment of the latest data on the spread of the virus.
We are in a dangerous phase still, and I need to reinforce that again to you, that this is not over.
Scotland's First Minister, who toured the new temporary hospital for coronavirus patients in Glasgow, repeated the guidelines to the public on social distancing.
The message remains exactly the same as it has been. People need to stay at home. I know how difficult that is, and I know how difficult that will be, particularly over this Easter weekend. Ordinarily, that is a time to see friends and family, it's a time to get out and about or even take a short break. None of that will be possible this year.